Hola, and welcome to Spanish Answers, a podcast that gives you unas llavitas claves as you unlock your Spanish language adventure. I'm your host, Sarah, with Language Answers, and today in episode 82, we will once again be talking about a Merry Christmas song sampler. So, are you ready to get into the Christmas spirit? Because it's become an annual tradition to talk about 10 Spanish Christmas songs. See episodes 64 and 42. And despite the chaos of my life, this year is no different. So whether you enjoy your canciones navideñas in moderation or at full blast all month, here are some ideas to add to your Christmas playlist. Now, while normally I would not include a cultural tip in this type of episode, to make up for my extreme tardiness, we will finish our cultural tip miniseries on Puerto Rico by looking at 3 other unique and interesting cultural traditions. I am so sorry, you guys, that this episode is so late. I severely underestimated how much work we would be doing to get our house back to normal. I am relieved and so grateful to be able to say that things are finally in an almost manageable and comfortable state, and that I finally have my recording set up back. So hopefully the sound is good. I have a feeling I'm going to need to tweak things as we go, but like I said, we are still staying up super late trying to work on things, and we only just got our Christmas tree up today. But at least we got it up before Christmas, right? Right. Anyways, that's enough of a pity party. Life is crazy, but it is good. Entonces, vámonos! So here are 10 festive Spanish Christmas songs. And as always, I've tried to compile a list that has a bit of everything for everyone. So let's start with some of the classic villancicos, shall we? Here are 4 classic Christmas carols in Spanish. The first one is Santa la Noche by Grupo Vocal Adoración. This is my absolute favorite Christmas carol. It's the Spanish version of O Holy Night, and it is so beautiful and so powerful. I love the song's building crescendo, and there are few things more enjoyable to listen to than a well-sung version of this song. And this video by Grupo Vocal Adoración, and of course I will include all YouTube links in my show notes, so you can be sure to check out these videos. But the thing I loved about this video is the harmonies that the a cappella group from Mexico achieves. It's simply beautiful. Now, there's also a lovely solo version with Sara Jerez. They call the song O Noche Divina, or a more modernized version where they combine the carol with other songs, which, granted, generally I don't like, and it's why the modernized version is not the main feature for this particular carol. But I gotta say, Majo y Dan really did a lovely job. So I am going to share the link in the show notes. Now, I've also included links to the lyrics for the Spanish version of this classic Christmas carol, as well as the lyrics to the English version. All right, our second one is called La Marimorena, and I've included a video by Patty Lou. If you have small children, Patty Lou is a great resource for kids' songs. Now, I haven't listened to all of her songs, and quite frankly, when it comes to your kids, I highly recommend always screening things first before letting them watch or listen to them. But if you need a place to start, Patty Lou is great. I've included a link to the lyrics to this traditional villancico, and they come from Mama Lisa's World, as well as the English translation and several notes and extra verses. I love Mama Lisa's World. She's just got so much good information all in one place. But it does seem that there is some confusion on where this particular villancico comes from, with some saying La Marimorena refers to a type of party, and others, such as Life Cuenca, saying it refers to a gal who was a key player in a very rambunctious and noisy Christmas celebration that interrupted the important Christmas Eve Mass, called La Misa del Gallo. So which story is correct? Who knows? But while this traditional Spanish Christmas carol doesn't make a ton of sense, it's still beloved in the Hispanic world and is fun to sing. Kind of like our We Wish You a Merry Christmas. Does it really make sense for carolers to go around and demand food? Not really, but it's still fun to sing. The third one is Din Don Dan by Ponte Be Drateve. So this song is a simple one. with lyrics you can easily learn. It basically summarizes the entire biblical story of Christmas, so it's a great one for kids to learn. And I selected this particular YouTube video to share because it has the lyrics in Spanish on screen, but also because it has numerous scenes of different belenes, which are the Spanish version of our nativity scenes. Only they are much, much cooler. Instead of creating one scene with a nativity, a Belen has multiple scenes full of different houses, people, even moving items and lights. You can basically make your own biblical city, or Bethlehem, hence the name, Belen, depending on how invested in it you want to be. I love this tradition, and I'm actually slowly creating my own Belen, which I add to every year at Christmas. I finally have almost all of the nativity scene completed, so this year I added a 2-story house. After Christmas, I'll move Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus to the house, and we'll bring the 3 wise men there on January 6th to celebrate 3 Kings Day. I am so excited, guys. All right, number 4, Navidad, Navidad by Miriam Hernandez. There are at least 2 versions of the English classic Jingle Bells. So there's this one, Navidad, Navidad, and then there is Cascabel. The second one, Cascabel, is more in keeping with the original song, as Cascabel means bell or sleigh bell, although the lyrics for the main chorus are completely different. So instead of focusing on a sleigh ride, which, granted, might be very hard culturally to translate into a different language and culture, but it focuses on the Holy Family and Christmas Eve. However, that being said, I also like how happy and joyful Navidad, Navidad is, which still has a religious focus, but also is just a happy celebration of Christmas Day. Besides, Miriam Hernandez has a beautiful voice. Okay, so now let's switch over from the Villancicos to those classic Christmas songs that you hear playing all the time during the month of December, but which aren't actually all that old. So, number 5 on our list is Navidad Rock by Tatiana. Again, this is another children's song artist that I love, although she does have adult songs too, so be careful when sharing with children. She did have a solo career for a while. But this is Tatiana. And what better segue into classic modern Christmas songs than the Spanish version of Jingle Bell Rock? If you want the Spanish lyrics, check out the notes in the YouTube video. Number 6 is Todo lo que quiero eres tú. And I've included a video that's a Mariah Carey cover of All I Want for Christmas Is You, but obviously in Spanish. And it's by Gret Roca. Now, who hasn't heard this song played over and over and over again in English? So imagine my surprise when I found this cover in Spanish by Gret Roca, who is a popular Mexican YouTuber. I just discovered her, so I don't know much about her, other than that she is a vocal coach who does reaction videos to various singers and also does Spanish covers. I love the videos done in English by Hannah Bales, who is a vocal coach, so I am really excited to see what Gret Roca's videos are like. Anyways, I have also found a version of the song by Carolina Ross, a Mexican singer who was on La Voz. So just in case you're looking for more. I also just discovered her, and I love how dulce and smooth her voice is. Number 7 is Un Año Más, and the video I've included has multiple artists. It's got Carlos Rivera, Reik, Pandora, Matisse, Natalia Jimenez, Yuri, Bentino, Arthur Hanlon, and Manuel Madrano. A whole cast of fantastic singers. And while technically this song is about the coming new year, it is associated with Christmas time and can be sung during the holidays. I really liked this particular version because it lets you see a wide range of different Spanish artists that you can check out at your own leisure and decide if you like them or not. And while the YouTube video has the Spanish lyrics in the notes, you can find a translation in English in a link I will, of course, provide. Although it is for a slightly different version, sung by a different artist. So bear that in mind. All right, for our last couple of songs, we are going to look at modern and newish. And so, lastly, but certainly not least, let's talk about some newer Christmas songs. Number 8 on our list is A Este Lado del Cristal by La Oreja de Van Gogh. If you want to hear the unique Castilian accent of Spanish, this song is fantastic for that. But I also love the simplicity of it, the sweet melody, and the overall message. I mean, yes, things don't always go as we want, but it's important to remember and be grateful for the important things we do have rather than focusing on what we don't. After all, it is so easy to get so focused on the commercialism and expectations of the Christmas season that we forget what it's really all about: showing love and gratefulness to our family and friends, and, most importantly, remembering God's love for us made incarnate in the baby Jesus, who came in the humblest of forms with the intent of dying for our sins. So when I listened to the song, A este lado del cristal, I wasn't expecting to be brought down such a philosophical path. So well done, La Oreja de Van Gogh. Well done. And I have listened to a few of their other songs, and I have to say, I have thoroughly enjoyed getting to hear more of their music. They seem to be kind of sweet and soft with gentle melodies and heart-tugging lyrics. I'm a fan. And of course, I have included a link for the lyrics in Spanish, and it even has a fairly decent English translation. Number 9 is En Navidad by CD9, or perhaps CD9. I'm not actually sure. The video I've included has the Spanish lyrics, but I was not able to find any site translations. And as we all know, I do not have time to translate all of these songs, considering how I barely got this episode out. Essentially, though, the song is just a warm, grateful Merry Christmas to their listeners. I'd never heard of this Mexican boy band before I researched this episode, and while the song itself is no masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, it is a fun, energetic, pop Christmas song. So something you can listen to when you're tired of listening to the numerous soulful Christmas songs and you just need something upbeat. Number 10, Volvernos a Encontrar by Bentino. I gotta say, I really enjoy Bentino's Christmas songs. Last year, we talked about their song, Ya es Navidad, it's already Christmas, and this year, I wanted to include Volvernos a Encontrar. You can click on the link I'll include for the lyrics in Spanish with the English translation, and it's basically just a love song. It's like a sweeter, slower, and less belted out version of All I Want for Christmas Is You. And that wraps up our Merry Christmas song sampler for 2022. Thankfully, I was able to get this done and out at least a week before Christmas, or almost a week before Christmas, right? So thank you for all of your patience as we work through these crazy times. I have one more scheduled podcast episode for the year, so hopefully I can get that out in the next couple of weeks. In that episode, I'll let you know what my plans are for maternity leave and 2023. And just in case I can't get the last episode of the year out before Christmas, which, quite frankly, it's looking like that is a no-go, may you all have a lovely, blessed, wonderful, and Merry Christmas. All right, let's talk about our final cultural tip on Puerto Rico. This island has quite a lot of cool and unique traditions and customs. I mean, we could, and maybe we will, at some point, spend an entire episode on just the Puerto Rican dialect. But today, we're going to focus on 3 really interesting Boricuan traditions. Number 1 is parrandas. So a parranda is similar to our idea of Christmas carolers, as in it consists of a group of people, parranderos, going around and serenading others with music. But it is also significantly different. For starters, the whole point of the event is to surprise a household with their gift of singing aguinaldos, the Boricuan way of referring to villancicos, to the accompaniment of traditional instruments. So think tambourines, guitars, maracas, and more. So they tend to gather around the front of the house after 10 at night. Those awoken by this asalto navideño are then expected to let the parranderos inside and to offer refreshments before joining the parranda and heading to the next house. Once the group reaches their final destination, they'll stay there and enjoy the party until sunrise. Like I said, just a little different than our Christmas caroling. But sounds really fun. Although I don't know if I would appreciate being woken up these days. So, maybe I'm a Scrooge. Number 2, a really long Christmas season. While it may or may not be the country with the longest Christmas, I mean, the Philippines might have it beat, Puerto Rico definitely enjoys this holiday season. For Islanders, the season is kicked off with Discovery Day on November 19th, and it doesn't officially end until January 20th, with the end of the San Sebastián Festival. So what does that look like? Well, after Christmas and New Year, Puerto Ricans celebrate Three Kings Day on January 6th, also known as Epiphany, which, this day celebrates the wise men who came to honor the newborn Jesus Christ. And after this, they have Las Octavitas, which are 8 days of parrandas and celebrations. Then they have Las Fiestas de la Calle San Sebastián, which is a big cultural, somewhat religious festival that takes place over 2 weekends. There are vendors and artisans, processions, music, dancing, etc. It's pretty cool. So I've included a video from YouTube by Instinct PR to get a quick visual of what this fiesta looks like, as well as to give you a great sampling of the Puerto Rican Spanish accent, because this video happens to be completely in Spanish. Now, side note, the Puerto Rican accent is one of the hardest I have ever come across. I have in-laws from Puerto Rico, and we sometimes struggle to communicate because our Spanish accents are so different. But one of the best deep dives into Boricua that I have ever seen was done by Marissa Blasco with Relearn a Language. So if you're interested in learning more about this interesting dialect, or plan on visiting the island, I highly recommend you check her out, and I will of course include a link directly to that deep dive in the show notes. Lastly, number 3, we have Puerto Rican special Christmas dishes. Now, normally I would only do one dish for this section, but I am feeling guilty as all get out for how late this episode has been, and consequently how late the next episode might be, so I'm trying to add just a little bit more to this episode as I can. So here are some cool and hopefully delicious traditional Puerto Rican Christmas dishes. We have coquito, which is kind of like the Puerto Rican version of eggnog. It's a creamy drink made with various forms of milk, sweetened and evaporated, cream of coconut, rum, and spices. And don't worry, if you need a virgin version of coquito, that would be me, then you just use coconut milk and rum extract instead. I found a food blog called The Noshri that is run by a native Puerto Rican. You can check out her recipe in the show notes, as well as more variations on coquito, i.e. chocolate and guava, which is very intriguing, from Discover Puerto Rico, and of course, you can check out their link in the show notes as well. Then there is tembleque, which is a coconut pudding of sorts. It's more like a cross between pudding and flan-ish. So Mercedes from the Noshri also has a recipe for this tasty looking treat. Now, there are pasteles, and these look like tamales, but the ingredients are way more complex. I don't have the capacity this year to even think about trying to make these, but perhaps in future years? I don't know, they look really interesting. So please, if you do make them, please let me know how it goes. Now, of course, Mercedes also had a recipe for these, so I have included a link to her recipe in the show notes for pasteles as well. Guys, I have a problem because I definitely signed up for her food blog updates. I am realizing that maybe these cultural tips are going to fill up my inbox as I keep finding really cool food blogs to follow. Anyways, last one is Mallorcas. So, pan de Mallorca is Puerto Rico's version of the ensaimades, I hope I said that right, of the island of Mallorca. It's a sweet, soft bread that almost looks like a seashell and is made with a bunch of eggs. As someone who craves gluten during pregnancy, I really want to make these. So, you can check out Mercedes' recipe for them on the Noshri, but you can also try a different recipe if you want a different resource as well, or rather a different food blog, as there is a recipe from Marta Rivera from the food blog senseandedibility.com. And I do appreciate that name, Sense and Edibility. Shout out to all the other Jane Austen fans out there. And that wraps up our episode for today. So thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the resources used for or referenced in this episode. If you'd prefer to read an approximate transcription of today's episode or to just have a place where all the YouTube videos are embedded, you can also visit the episode's blog. I would love to help you on your Spanish journey. So if you have any questions about today's episode, or even just on Spanish culture or grammar, you can reach me at contact@languageanswers.com or visit my website for more information. I can also be contacted regarding my services for Spanish to English translation, English technical writing, editing, and content creation, or even language consultations and tutoring for you or your business. Remember, learning a language is a lifelong journey, so please, aprovéchalo, disfrútalo, y compártelo. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas, guys. Hasta luego!